Well, an exclusive here today for Turf Business TV. We're joined by Gary Robertson, who's joined Precision Microbes as their Technical Sales Director for the UK. And we're going to talk about the next phase in the development of the brand, the company and the products. Gary, just before we get into that, thanks for joining us. We're in the middle of, obviously, a lockdown, so we're talking to you via the power of the internet. For people that don't know you, can you just give us a little bit of your kind of history in the industry?
Yeah, cheers, Martin. Yeah, it's nice to speak to you. I've been involved in the industry really for about 25 years or so. I've been knocking about in different roles, I would say. But I came into the industry through a YTS system and through various courses through Myesco, and basically came in as a groundsman at Blackburn Rovers at the Youth Academy a number of years ago, probably 93, 94 sort of season. Had some great times there. I was there for nearly 7 years, and then had a little bit of a break in my career. And then once I came back from that, I spent another 6 or 7 years at a local golf course, undergoing a lot of renovations at that time and construction phases. Sort of moved laterally a little bit, went and lived abroad for a couple of years, undertaking grow-ins for a couple of golf courses there. And on moving back to the UK, took up a position as a contracts manager for an irrigation company, installing irrigation. Really found myself in a situation where I wanted to be at home a little bit more. I've got a young family at the time. So I took on a lawn care franchise, which I held for a number of years before moving again on to Consolidate Turf, where I was the technical sales manager working with Paul Benson. And I've just now found myself in this role where I am at the moment, which I'm really looking forward to. It's an exciting role and one that we're looking to develop over this next 12 months.
Gary, I mean, you've got a wealth of experience there in different sectors, so that obviously positions you quite well to deal with the different sectors in the industry. But for this particular opportunity, what really attracted you to it?
To be honest with you, I didn't really have any huge inclination to move from my previous position. I was happy with what I was doing, but we were approached by the Microbes guys a couple of years ago, really, and I was aware of them. They were in the industry. But it's not something that I've really paid that much attention to. The approach wasn't. We'd found that the Microbes had some sort of synergy with the products that we were in the market with, and they'd come back to us to say that they seemed to be working well together. They seemed to be quite compatible. So it made our awareness a little bit greater. Really, we didn't spend enough time looking at those products and developing them alongside Precision Microbes, but I got enough of an inkling to see what the benefits were and how they were working within certain situations and within certain sectors. And it sort of got me thinking, and it got the juices running a little bit, really, because we're in a market today where we're ever changing and ever evolving, and everybody's looking for an extra 2% or an extra 3% if they can grab it in quality of surface. And I found that that there was a little bit of a niche in the market where this product could potentially give you that. I think also we're in an industry now where pesticide legislation is playing a big role in things. The use of them and whether or people are wanting to continue with the use of them. And I just think that this particular product, these types of products, can play a major role going forward. And I just think it's something that will develop as we go. But it got me excited to think that we could be a part of that in quite an early stage.
Could you tell us a little bit about what the Microbes actually do and perhaps why yours may be a bit different?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, it's important to stress that we're not trying to reinvent the wheel, and it's important for people to appreciate that, the concepts of microbes have been around for an awful long time, and they are naturally occurring within the soil. But unfortunately, with the type of constructions that we manage these days, they're not exactly given the ideal environments in which to thrive and develop within. So microbes, as I say, have been around a long time, and the beneficial within the soil It's well known and well documented that they thrive in soils that are oxygenated. And we do this an awful lot as groundsmen and greenkeepers by incorporating that in our maintenance techniques, such as aeration. But sometimes you need to add these microorganisms to the profiles, because we do quite often deal with sterile environments. The types of organisms that we're dealing with, we have a range of microorganisms within our blends, if you will. And each one has a specific role. So, for instance, we have bacteria that may favour working in an anaerobic condition, or one that might favour working in an aerobic condition. We have blends of microbes that will aid in disease resistance. We have blends that might favour working as more of a root shield to deter pests within the soil. But one thing that we do have as well, and we have been working quite hard on it, is the fact that we do want to try and degrade the organic material that builds up within a profile. And we find that the blends that we have in a nice mixture there contribute to all of those factors. What we have as well that makes us maybe a little bit different is the amounts of blends that we have in there that don't specifically contribute to the overall health of the plant, but are there to back up, if you will, the other organisms that do play that role. So they keep those bugs happy, and they keep them in the right place. So I think that's really what sort of singles us out. Our product is particularly refined, so it's a nice clean product. It doesn't cause any blocking of nozzles or anything like that. So it's an easy application to be made. And I think that's something that really does set us out a little bit differently.
You mentioned enhancements, you mentioned the lack of fungicides going forward, and all of that is going to change. You're not replacing anything here, but are you just making things better for other things to work? Is that basically the sense of it?
Yeah, that's what we're trying to say. I mean, the ethos of the company really is to contribute and to complement existing practices. We know that we work in an area where everybody's seeking that extra couple of percent if they can get something a little bit more out of the surface. And we know that the industry is continually evolving and continually developing. So we want to bring something into the mix that is going to help and contribute in that way. It would be wrong of us to make sweeping statements to say it's going the need to aerate, or it's going to replace the need to renovate aggressively. But we feel that the introduction of these blends into your maintenance program over the 12-month period will sit nicely in existing programs and will benefit and just keep things on the right side. We certainly wouldn't be advocating to not do something else. We just think that you will get a much better response with these sitting alongside what you're already doing.
So getting that extra couple of percent, but are you seeing any examples where people are actually making savings on other applications of products or processes?
Yeah, well, I think as I mentioned earlier, we have a base obviously in Dublin, and we have a base in Malaga. And Paul Kennelly, who is one of the directors, works solely really within Europe, and he's had great success over in Spain, in particular La Liga. I was speaking to John over at Eleves this morning, really about this topic. John's been using the products now the last 2 years, maybe possibly 3. The introduction really for the microbes was because he doesn't have the greatest budget compared to some of the bigger clubs. So he's got to be really resourceful, and he's got to be mindful of how he uses that budget. Really, John introduced the microbes because he had issues with black layer, and he found that the microbes, for want of a better word, munched away at the black layer and cleaned his profile up. So that was a huge bonus for him. But since then as well, he has found that his rooting has been a lot stronger, a lot more vigorous. But he has found that his application of pesticides has dropped. He can only associate that really with a nice, healthy, strong plant, which is what we're trying to give him. So that has certainly been something for John over at Eleves. We are working with other guys within the UK and over in Ireland. It wouldn't be right for me to actually say that they've been making savings, but they've certainly been using the product to how they wanted to use it, and they've seen beneficial responses from that.
You got any examples?
Yeah, funnily enough, I was speaking to Graham down at Southampton's training facility this week as well. Not the stadium, just the training facility itself. Now, Graham's been using the microbes probably, again, for the last 2 or 3 seasons now. They've played about with them for different reasons, really, but certainly they've seen benefits from using the microbes. I'm sure that Graham would be more than willing to back that up and support that to guys who asked that question to him. I don't really feel comfortable that I want to tell it, say that this is exactly what he's gained or what he hasn't gained, but he's certainly been on the programme for the last 2 to 3 years in conjunction with other maintenance practices.
You mentioned 2 fairly high-profile football clubs there. Is that the only sector you're looking at, or are you looking at other sectors?
No, I think realistically, certainly with me being in my infancy in the role itself, my main target was to be targeting the winter sports sector originally. The reason for that is just because it's well documented that they have specific issues, certainly around renovation time, and not only renovation time, but certain issues throughout the playing season where they're always striving for something a little bit different. So with the product being slightly diverse, where it can fit in alongside nicely with what they're doing, that seemed to be the most pertinent place to start, if you will. But no, certainly going forward, we are in discussions with a couple of golf clubs at the moment, and we do see the benefits of the microbes being rolled out across the golf sector as well. Can only be a good thing. I think what you find with the golf guys is they don't really have the facility to take greens or areas out of play like the football guys have, obviously the summer window. So they really got to work with what they've got to a degree. So finding a solution for those guys, particularly for the control of an organic within the surface, would be a huge thing for those guys. I think we said something in the press release the other week that unfortunately for the golf guys, when they're undertaking their spring renovations or autumn renovations, they quite often find that the window of opportunity isn't great, and they quite often find that they have to undertake these operations that are quite aggressive in climatic conditions that aren't really suitable for what they're doing, but they have to do it because otherwise they'll be left behind. So for us to be able to give them another tool to put in their box that may well alleviate some of their issues would be a huge thing for us going forward, and to work alongside them would be great for us.
Are there any benefits to the current situation where obviously people are struggling with staffing levels and keeping maintenance regimes? Can your microbes help with this at all?
I think that realistically we're looking at this for the long game, not particularly the short game. The use of the microbes is something that is beneficial throughout the year. You would get greater results through the growing season because the soil temperatures warm up. But we're looking to have this as a 12-month maintenance program rather than just try and tackle specific issues as a firefighting, if you will. But with the situation that we do find ourselves in, particularly with the football season, I would suggest, is that guys would normally know when the season's coming to an end. I mean, I think that's quite obvious.
Yeah.
But they're in a situation now where the delays could well impact on what they decide to do post-season. Are they going to go for a full, meaningful renovation, or are they going to tackle it, piecemeal and try and do cultural practices as they're going along. What I would say is that the longer this process goes on, the more uncertainty it will create. So you'll one of two things. You'll either bite the bullet, which I think I've seen a couple of guys do over this last 2 weeks, where they've gone and they've corroed out and they've gone and they've gone full hog as they would do. Or people will decide to say, do you know what? It's not the worst thing in the world. We can work with a 2-year-old pitch. It's not the norm, but a lot of these guys are working with the ryegrasses and it's a perennial plant. So we should see a better plant going into year 2 and year 3. I think the main concerns really for some of the guys is the how clean the surface is. So whether or not they're getting an ingress of POA in there. So they really wouldn't want to be going into a season with a POA dominated sward. But I think they'll find that they'll be managing that as they go along. So what I would say is, yes, the products could benefit this situation because it will give guys another option, another alternative to think, yeah, well, you know what, we can manage this and we can use something to help us manage it, such as the microbes.
In terms of getting product out to the market, currently manufactured, I think, in Ireland, is that correct?
Yeah.
Short term, I'm sure with the situation that's going to stay the same, and I assume there's no problem getting product at the moment.
No. I mean, we do carry an amount of stock in the UK anyway. So with regards to getting stock out, we have no issues with that. There's certainly not been any restrictions regarding getting product out from Dublin into the UK either. It may just take an extra day or so, but we've certainly not got any stipulations to say we can't do that. The long-term plan over this next sort of 12 months, particularly with the way Brexit went, is that we want to be housed within the UK. My role is technical sales director for the UK, so we want to grow in the UK. We are looking to be situated in the UK, so we want to manufacture in the UK going forward. Certainly that isn't going to be an overnight solution, but that's what our aim is over the next 12 months. But no, with regards to product getting out to the end user at the moment, like most companies really, we're okay. It may just take a little bit longer.